Hey, Mike. What? Who's got next?
What's good, y'all? It's your man, Hezo. Welcome back to the Blacktop, where I always got next, you feel me? Whoo, man. That was a hell of a game, man. Hell of a game. Hell of a win after storming back from 15 points. Just a very refreshing win, because that was really a must-win game for the Hawks tonight, especially with the way the standings are. Dropping back-to-back games versus the Heat. We got the Wizards again on Friday. With how tight these standings are, this was a must-win game tonight, and we came out with the dub. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like on the video. A lot to get into for this one. So let's get right into it. This game was really about two guys tonight. Trae Young and Kristaps Porzingis. Dingus Pingus, who had a career high tonight, and shout out to Porzingis. He finished with 43 on the night and really did everything he could for the Wizards in this game. But early on to start the game, the Hawks came out again on fire offensively. Kind of like we saw in the Miami game, just kind of getting whatever they want. Trae got off to a perfect start. I think hit his first 5 shots. But Porzingis, man, he was too much. He was too much in the entire game, first half and second half. He got off to a near perfect start. I think he also started the game for 5 for 5, and he really just carried the Wizards the entire first half, and really just the entire game. Now, some other guys chipped in, for them. Kuzma got going in the second half. Bradley Beal did not have a great game, especially late in the game. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later. Atlanta's defense was really creating a lot of turnovers in the first half, but they weren't really capitalizing on a lot of those turnovers. Yeah, they were forcing them and getting into transition, but sometimes it just wasn't working in terms of on the offensive end off of those turnovers. Trae, I think, had 3 steals himself in the first half. He finished with 3 steals on the night. And just a huge defensive improvement we are seeing from Trae. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the video as well. But a pretty balanced scoring for Atlanta in the first half. Really the entire game. Everybody was kind of getting involved. The ball was not moving. We didn't see a lot of isolation. I'm going to also talk about that in my final takeaways. The Wizards ended up closing the second quarter on like a 6-0 run to take a 3-point lead going into the half. And the Hawks bigs they were really dominating tonight. John Collins hit like 4 threes, and that's cool and everything. But Clint Capella really was getting just ate by Porzingis. He was eating his ass up. Pause. But they were just getting dominated in the paint, and it seemed like they couldn't stop. They couldn't stop the Wizards from getting into the paint and scoring in the paint. And that was just tough to watch, man. And it kind of carried throughout the entire game. Second half starts. John Collins hits 2 back-to-back threes for the Atlanta offense. But their offense really struggled early on in that third quarter. Wizards come out, they jump on them, go on a huge run. And at this point, I'm thinking, man, this game's over. I mean, Kyle Kuzma started cooking, and then the Wizards go out by as much as, I think, 15 points, and Atlanta just looked dead in the water. They could not score. The jump shot just was not falling. Dre got some open looks. DeJounte got some open looks, but the jump shot just wasn't falling. But then Atlanta goes on a late third quarter run to close out the quarter. And the second half really was literally a game of runs. I mean, it seemed like the Wizards would make a huge run, and then Atlanta would answer with a huge run, and then the Wizards would make a huge run, and then Atlanta would make a huge run. And it was back and forth really the entire second half in terms of big, long runs. I don't know if I like how that sounds. Atlanta continued their run going into the fourth quarter, getting a 6-point lead to jump out early in the fourth quarter, and it looked like Atlanta was going to start to pull away from there. And then Porzingis starts to cook once again. Kyle Kuzma hit a couple big shots. And again, man, it was back and forth the entire fourth quarter. But Bradley Beal really struggled in this game, especially in the fourth quarter. He was missing layups. He was turning the ball over. And he was a huge reason why the Wizards ended up losing this game, because the ball wasn't in Porzingis' hands when it really should have been, the way he was cooking the entire game. Porzingis hit a huge 3 towards the back half stretch of the fourth quarter. It put the Wizards back up 1, and then Trae came right back down and gets it right back and hits a beautiful 3. But there's one player that I want to point out, and y'all know it's coming, that was huge down the stretch of the ball game, and that was my boy Dre. Now, I know Dre didn't have a great game, and I'm not saying that he did, but he came up in a huge moment at the end of the ball game when he got to the free throw line off an and-1 to put it in a tie ball game, to put Atlanta back up 3, gets the foul and 1, knocks down the free throw, and then gets a stop down the defensive end, played excellent defense on Bradley Beal, forced the Wizards into a shot clock violation, And then again, Atlanta comes down and Dre gets to the free throw line and knocks down both free throws because he was attacking, not settling for a jump shot. And I loved what I saw from Dre in specifically for those two possessions. And again, I know he didn't have a great game shooting the basketball. That's fine. But when you have Dre making plays like this and attacking the basket and getting to the free throw line, that's really what we want to see out of DeAndre Hunter. I know he has his haters out there, but y'all know me. By now, y'all know I'm a big supporter of DeAndre Hunter, and I loved what I saw down the stretch of the ball game from him. Dre knocks down both free throws, and that was pretty much, that was all she wrote from there. I think that the Wizards ended up turning the ball over on the next possession when they were down. Were they down 5? I can't remember how it exactly played out, but I know Bradley Beal had a very crucial turnover at the end of the ball game, and that pretty much sealed the game. There might have been 16 seconds left at that point, something around the year. Again, I don't remember exactly how it panned out, but either way, we come out with the dub, and it was just an incredible win after storming back from 15. And a game that I thought we would look dead in the water, we come out with the big dub. So I'm gonna get into my final takeaways for this game. And number one, same as last game, Trey's defense. And it's crazy to say that, right? Like, Trae Young and defense usually doesn't coexist in the same sentence, but it's really starting to. Since Quinn Snyder has gotten hired, you can really the eye test tells you that Trae is improving as a defensive player. He's never going to be a lockdown glove player like we see out of a lot of other guys like a Patrick Beverly, guys like that. We're never going to see that out of Trae. But if he can hold his own on defense, that's really all we need out of Trae. And he's showing a lot more effort. He's getting around screens. He's moving well on defense. He's trapping when it's the right time. There was a play, I think it was on Kyle Kuzma, when his back was to the basket and Trae came around and swatted the ball and it went off of Kyle Kuzma's foot.
Here's Kuzma. There comes Trae Young coming over.
That's something that we did not see a lot of out of Trae, and we're starting to see more of that. Again, he finished with 3 steals tonight. He had 5 steals against Miami, and to be honest, this was probably one of the best games I've ever seen Trae play from start to finish. Now, what I mean by that is, I understand that he didn't have a 40-point game or a 50-point in 15 game. I understand all that. The box score doesn't show that it was a quote-unquote incredible game. But when you watch the game, the way that he was controlling the offense, getting guys involved while also playing defense, that's why this specific game tonight from Trae was one of the best overall games that I have watched out of him. He shot efficiently. He wasn't making poor decisions. Yeah, he had a couple turnovers, which that happens, but his decision making was not atrocious like we have seen it in the past. He finished with 28 and 10. He did miss a free throw down the stretch of the ball game. It is what it is. But again, when you combine the offensive efficiency that we saw from Trae tonight with the defense that we saw from Trae tonight, it was one of the most complete games that I've ever seen Trae play, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. And hopefully his defense is going to continue to get better under Quinn Snyder, because you can really see his effort and his energy on the defensive end over the last few games. So number 2 is the ball movement. Again, another game where the ball was not sticking. We did not see a lot of isolation basketball down the stretch of the ball game. Yes, the ball was in Trae's hands. The ball was in DeJounte's hands. DeJounte did take a kind of a poor mid-range jump shot. He was really trying to get going, and he really did struggle tonight from, shooting the basketball, but other guys stepped up and had big performances, and we were able to come out with a dub. But really just the ball movement. Again, Trae had 10 assists, and it wasn't sticking. There was not a lot of isolation. Everybody was getting involved, which leads me into my final point, the balanced scoring that we saw from the Hawks tonight. We had 7 guys in double figures, and Okongwu finished with 9, so almost 8 guys in the rotation out of the 9 that played finished in double figures, with Saddiq Bey was really the only one that kind of struggled shooting the basketball tonight. And listen, man, it happens. Saddiq has been incredible since he's got to Atlanta, so we're going to give him a pass for tonight because he's just played great basketball since he's came to Atlanta. He's allowed to have an off shooting night. He only finished with 2 points on the night, but Jalen Johnson was incredible. Bogey had a very solid shooting night, and again, Okongwu had a nice game off the bench as well. He got in foul trouble, but was still finishing. Now, Okongwu did miss four free throws, which is huge because the game could have been, we could have put the game, I wouldn't say put the game away, but there were 4 really big free throws, and I think 2 of them came in the fourth quarter down the stretch of the ball game at points where we really needed. So Okongwu did kind of sell in that aspect, but he still had a solid game overall. And the bench unit was just great overall tonight, minus Saddiq Bey, who just didn't have a great game. But Jalen Johnson, man, I really, really enjoyed what I watched from him tonight with getting into transition, running that kind of point forward. He had a beautiful, beautiful putback dunk on Denny Avdia tonight, which I'm like, oh my God.
You know, this is the playoff.
Yeah, so in the playoffs, starters' minutes go up. They don't go down.
Jalen Johnson cleaning up the glass.
Really put me out of my seat, bro. Like Jalen Johnson really is starting to come into his own under Quinn Snyder, and you see that he's playing with a lot more confidence. He hit 2 threes tonight, which was a great thing to see. I think Quinn Snyder really is going to maximize Jalen Johnson's full potential, and I think next season is really when Jalen's going to take that leap. Maybe he becomes the starting power forward in the future. He's still a young guy. We have to wait and see. But I really liked what I saw with Jalen Johnson tonight. So I'm going to pretty much leave it there, man. Not really a super long recap tonight, but it was a great win finishing that game and coming back from 15, as I've mentioned several times, throughout this video. And again, a must win for this team. And again, we play the Wizards on Friday, which unfortunately I will not be doing a recap for that because I am going to be streaming and getting a recap out for the Saturday game. So y'all be on the lookout for that. I will be streaming for that game. So no recap Friday night, but I will see y'all Saturday during the stream and Saturday during the recap. We got a couple tough ball games coming up, man. We got to come out, figure out a way to come out with some wins. We play the Timberwolves coming up. We play the Celtics coming up. And then again, we have the Wizards on Friday. And that's not going to be an easy game, especially with a performance like Bradley Beal had tonight. He's going to look to come out and have a big night offensively on Friday. So we have to see if we can come out with another win to create more separation in these standings. So we'll see. Y'all leave your thoughts down in the comments. As always, drop a like on the video, and I will catch y'all next episode.